welcome to the Taking the Temperature discussion. This is the third in our series of 4 conversations with women in the denim industry. My name is Tricia Carey, and I'm Director of Global Business Development for Denim at LENZ. We transform trees into TENCEL, lyocell, and modal fibers, which are used by leading denim brands and mills around the world. To learn more about TENCEL denim, visit our Carved in Blue blog or visit us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. To see amazing denim videos from our mill and brand partners, our series on Headspace, and conversations like these, check out our YouTube channel, Blue LENZ. We are excited today to have a distinguished panel of women who between them handle various roles in companies from fiber to finish, media, and design. Spanning the globe from Los Angeles, New York City, Valencia, Amsterdam, Lisbon, and Istanbul, their experience with global denim brands includes Calvin Klein, Diesel, Joe's Jeans, Lee Cooper, Lucky Brand, Paige, Pantene, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, and more. Let's just say these women really know the denim world. The effect of the COVID pandemic has been significant, with over 5 million cases and close to 350,000 deaths and rising. The lockdown policies of most governments have seen the biggest fall in consumer confidence since records began, and this is compounded by unemployment figures from the US Labor Department being predicted by economists to be as high as 20%, a level unseen since the 1930s Great Depression. It has been widely recognized that from Germany to New Zealand and Denmark to Taiwan, women leaders are doing a disproportionately great job at handling the pandemic, having employed particularly effective strategies. With that in mind, what insights can our panelists today bring to the questions hanging over the past, present, and future of our lives in our industry? We now have the opportunity to rebuild what was once an $80 billion denim industry. We finally have a chance to right the wrongs of the past. And so what do we plan to do about this? The apparel industry is made up of people, and we are the people to bring the change that we wish to see. The $2.4 trillion apparel industry employs 75 million global workers from design to factory to retail, 80% of which are women. So today we want to get the input of these esteemed women. And starting off in Los Angeles, we have Allison Cherabomlis from Lucky Denim. We have in New York City, Angela Velasquez from Rivet. And in Lisbon, we have Anne Uard, who's a denim designer. In Valencia, we have Carme Santa Cruz from Genealogia. Also in Los Angeles, we have Cristina Brocado from Navina. In New York City, we have Christine Rucci, who's the godmother of denim. And from, I guess we'll say it's North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere in that region. Today we have Cindy McNall from Cadora. Also in Los Angeles, Naomi Getz from Joe's Jeans. In Amsterdam, we have Sylvia Ronchani from the Denim Window. And from Istanbul, we have Sinem Çelik from Blue Projects. So today, the format for our discussion is that I will ask several questions. This will be for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we'll open to questions from the audience. And then we'll have one final closing comment. So to get started for today, there are no guidelines to a pandemic. No one expected this, and all of this is something that we've never seen in our lifetimes. Companies who respond well during this time will be highly regarded in the future. Which press, supply chain partners, denim brands, or just other brands do you think are doing well during this time? And who might not be doing so well? And we'll kick this question off with Cindy. Why don't you give us some of your insights on who you think is doing well during this time?
Greetings, everybody. As Tricia said, I'm located in North Carolina. I'm actually in the mountains right now, so I would show you a nice view, but it's raining. But anyway, aside from that, thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. Some of you I know, and some of you I'm really looking forward to getting to know a lot better after all of this. I don't know how many of you guys know about my background, but I come from the Cordura brand, and the Cordura brand has a pretty broad stroke segmentation, lots of different industries that we get a chance to touch, denim throughout all of those. And I'd say at a high level, in terms of all of those industries, the people that are doing it right, they're super agile. They're able to pivot really fast. They're able to create digital tools, deploy them really, really quickly, just in general. Second of all, they're also ones that know what they're good at. What are their core competencies? What are their capabilities, and how to put those to good to make a difference. And third, I would say it's people and brands and organizations that have stayed true to what their true ethos is, and what I like to call is their North Star. So at that level, I sort of think of those from a brand perspective. I go back to very early days in the COVID pandemic, and my good friends at Carhartt were able to totally pivot within weeks, get a lot of collaboration going in a quick period of time, and essentially retrofit their equipment to be turning out PPE, and really stay true to that core ethos of theirs, which is serving and protecting hardworking people. Super impressed with that. I would also say from a supply chain perspective, many of you guys on the call participated in this, but kudos to go out to Kingpins and our friend, Andrew Ola and team. I mean, he had a choice at the very beginning of all this. Should I cancel? It would be certainly convenient, and you could say, hey, let's don't worry about it. Let's try again later. But he said, no, the show must go on. And everyone on this team, and on this call has really been a part of that, and that virtual experience, and really leading by example. And then finally, my goodness, Tricia and her unbelievably talented team at LENZ, at TENCEL, Carved in Blue. I mean, for keeping the conversation going, for educating us, for keeping sustainability top of mind, even when it seems like, it's the last thing on our minds, but it absolutely needs to be the number one thing on the mind in terms of, just where we need to be going and not losing sight of it, but also keeping health and wellness, and just overall keeping us totally connected as an industry, so that when we do get back on our feet, we haven't not connected. And thank you, Tricia.
Well, thank you, Cindy. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. And I do also applaud Kingpins for what they did in putting together very quickly an amazing, digital experience for everyone. And then moving over to you, Christine, what do you think? Who's done a great job now?
For myself, being that I've been an advocate for a very long time about thinking globally and making locally, being part of Made in NYC, we were able to pivot in exactly 1 week. And while I've been working the entire time. In fact, I was in the factories last week and working, and we went immediately from design, literally switched into PP in exactly 1 week. So like my factories that were making clothes are doing everything from 3D printing of oxygen nozzles for face masks and gowns. And now this week we're back to fashion. So we're able to do this, in an amazing way. My client that I work for is based in the UK. They can't come here, and I'm here. So pretty much using technology, we were able to keep the process going. We've not stopped. I've not had one day off except for the weekends. And like last week, in 1 day, I processed 100 samples. One of the things that I think people have to do, and I don't want to say any brands, or maybe what I'm calling the blueprint to recovery, is sort of using this time to make a new plan. Okay, contracting, which is a very old way of doing business, is so easy because there's a lot of moving parts that you can switch fast. Meaning, if you've made an order, like I think companies that honor orders from fabric through the entire supply chain, this is that circularity. We talk about it. Now we can actually put it into practice. For example, if you own a fabric, you can employ your designers to design into it, make more SKUs, make more with less, right? And start to keep the process going. You could have factories that have made a lot of jeans. Look at the Etsy model, like all these people are customizing. You could have local artisans where you're manufacturing employed doing handwork or doing patching, mending, utilizing what I call vintage tech. So we have old time sewing and hands-on and crafting, and then using technology, which is using 3D pattern making and AI and other things, and using digital platforms to promote it. So that's sort of where my head has been. And like today, when I leave here, I'm going right to the factories, I'm going right to the laundry, and I'm lasering today. So it's being able to switch in a safe, it's a new reality. I want, every time I hear new normal, it's not normal. This is not normal. We have to think, if you just go back quickly, history. In the 1920s, post the first Spanish flu pandemic, 1920s, we saw the most industrial revolution in New York City. This was the center of it. So I'm using that old model. Then you think about the 1940s and the Dust Bowl, which we all love, the 40s, workwear and Rosie the Riveters, and women came out. All right, hello ladies, and they were able to go into the factories and start working. We need to think the same way. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's very true.
And
we do need to continue, and I think having this local aspect is so true, Christine.
My two last thing is that I think we need to think globally, make locally, and think about how we do it in a sustainable way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Allison, what are your thoughts from Los Angeles? Who's doing well, and how will this go forward?
So yeah, I agree with Cynthia and Christine's points about quick pivots and local in particular. I think, you know, in the US, where we're extremely polarized by state, even within state, right? Los Angeles versus how Orange County are handling things. Like, to me, it's not so important what's happening on a national or global level anymore. What's important to me is, where's my closest testing center? How many people are sick in my area? And I think that's important at the brand level as well. What's the visual impact that they're making? So I think the brands that were able to pivot their actual manufacturing facilities, in-house facilities like Citizens, is really, truly impressive. And I feel more distance from brands who made really large financial commitments, because I just can't see it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means. And I'm disappointed in brands who I thought were leaders in sustainability and human rights, making no statements at all. But fully aligned with the feeling that we need to bring domestic back. We need to be local. And for us in particular, we don't have in-house production facilities, but we did pivot to PPE with a local LA factory, New Fashion, and it was incredible how much easier it was just to work with somebody down the street in the same time zone, ship fabric from our HQ to the factory 3 miles away, and then ship it to our DC and Radial in Kentucky. So, you know, there's just, when borders shut down, there's a lot of legitimacy to keeping it, you know, domestic.
Yeah, for sure. Keeping it all here is so important. And I think that will be something interesting to watch over the next year. And Christina, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is a really important question. And, you know, I think no matter what we do, you know, I have a history in every aspect of denim design to pre-production to production, and now I work for a textile mill. So that was advantageous to be on the other side of the table, because I know what questions my customers are going to ask of me. So who's handling it well? Right now, I looked at that, and I think it's the people who are asking the questions. It's the brands, and I think what's most inspiring are, you know, people like you, Tricia, are bringing communities together and asking the questions. I've been doing for Navina a series of talks called Generosity Talks, and I've learned so much from them and the customer. And the previous ladies brought up some really good points about, you know, thinking globally but bringing it locally. And I'd interviewed Tim from Mother, and I love, number one, what everybody is doing, what they can do. They're looking outside of themselves and their brands and saying, what can I do? And that's a lot of, in the fashion industry, making PPE. So, you know, for instance, Mother, Tim was saying he makes thousands during the week, and that's what he's making. He's keeping his manufacturing, his sewing facilities, his sample makers, his factories here in LA busy and working. and that we're just looking to see what we can do, that there's no framework for this, there's no blueprint for this, so we have to really put on our creative hats, and we have to ask the questions. And this is a whole new world. There are really no answers, and I think if anybody really thinks they have the answers, yeah, just I think none of us really do. So we need to continue asking the questions.
Yes, yes, no, I loved your series, your generosity, and it is asking the questions. And I kind of say, you know, this is part denim therapy, but it's how we're all getting through this. And when we first started some of our initiatives, we also felt it was a time to really document our feelings of how we are right now. And if you think about it, how much your thoughts have changed even from the first or second week you were in lockdown to where you are now in week 11 or 12. And how will we feel when we look back on this, you know, 4 or 5 years from now, to see what those changes are. But you're right, there's no one really knows. And next, just talking a little bit about some of the changes. And there was a proposal from some designers called rewriting. And this is about changing the calendar, how the industry looks around fashion shows and discounts. And really, let's use this time to reset and rewrite the way we work in fashion. And this is beyond just the denim world. Do you think this could work for the denim industry? Carme, if you could weigh in on this and the whole rewriting proposal that was put forward.
Hi, Tricia. Well, first of all, thank you for having me with these excellent colleagues in this panel. And yeah, of course, I think that, well, COVID-19 has shaken our way of life and our way of working. We have adapted our entire home to our new way of living, but also to telecommuting. I mean, so this new situation has made to realign our priorities. And it's what we are doing in fashion industry. I think that denim industry already embraced the change, but for sure some of those proposals from the Rewiring Fashion Manifesto will be adapted for denim industry. I think that creating shows that put that are addressed to engage the final customers or putting the product in the center. I think that this is the way of doing things. In my opinion, another way of rewiring the fashion is to create responsible products. I think that in the denim industry, we are talking always about teaching or educating consumers, but I think that we should, designers should take action in this way, and just a few are eco-designing. I think that what Christine was saying at the beginning, that was thinking globally and act locally or made locally, I think that has a lot of sense in this new reality. No? I think that sustainability has become super popular in the past years, but we need to put sustainability at the core of our creative concepts and development stages. And I think that the creative and designers, we have this responsibility. And we have a lot of tools, I mean, to do it, from fiber, fabric, manufacturing, finishing. We have a high-level innovation in denim industry, and we have sustainable, innovative fibers like TENCEL, for example, and also the performance of the fabrics and sensitiveness to the laser is better than ever. We have a huge range of technology at our disposal to create beautiful products, for example, using only 1 glass of water per garment in the finishing part, or creating a super vintage tech-made garment using laser technology, or even we can design digitally. You know? We have recently launched a software called the Designer, so we can create laser patterns easily and also streamline the development process because we are also creating digital samples through the software. So I think that we have the tools to create very creative, innovative products, and I'm sure that consumers identify a quality product with sustainable value, and it's not just a matter of educating them, it's also a matter of taking the tools and creating this new way of doing things, and also in a creative way.
Yes. Yeah, I think there is a lot that we can finally rewrite in sustainability for sure. And Sinem, what are your thoughts around rewriting?
Yeah, I also want to approach to this question with this ethical point of view, just like Karma did. The value chain, and but also in environmental way, but also on human aspect, which we didn't focus on that much. Because on the existing model, there is this massive conflict with the growth obsession of the current system and the ethical goals or the sustainability goals that we've been talking about for a couple of years. And this conflict itself is actually telling us that we really need to rewrite the whole system and change our conception totally. And how should actually start, I think, how to rewrite should start with the end of the journey, which is the waste. And there is, of course, two sides, which is one of it relates to the consumer with the compulsory consumption or overconsumption, which we have less control. But we do have control and power on our own areas of responsibilities. And when it comes to denim, it is originally designed for durability. So it's seasonless. Maybe there cannot be a better timing to remind us that what we deal with, denim itself, is a seasonless product. So then start asking the questions, just like you just said. It's so important to ask more questions nowadays. That do we really need all those seasons and the pre-fall, spring, summer seasons, and even ask ourselves, or for the consumer, is it necessary to have 3 stores on the same street? So we can start to ask all these questions, and at the end, maybe we have chance to add that invisible cost, which is related to waste or environment and the humanity, back to the system, because that's, for the moment, with the existing system, it is not hidden. It is a hidden cost. So we can, by doing so, by asking the questions, we can start to redefine and make it visible, the hidden cost visible for the whole industry. And I definitely believe that denim should be leading this movement, actually.
Yes, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of broken parts. And Anne, what are your thoughts around rewriting?
I really agree with what Sinem just said about also reconsider growth. And because right now designers are talking a lot about reducing the amount of shows, but I wonder if they're also gonna reduce the size of their collections, because I think that's the issue. And that issue we have with overproduction is completely crazy, especially now when you see all these orders that have been cancelled and all these stocks that are just sitting in factories and no one wants to take care of them. So I think if we go seasonless, of course, we're going to design products that are still going to be relevant in the next months, years, and so we won't have all that waste. I also believe that we have a great occasion with denim, because denim is by essence seasonless. I think your classic 13-ounce jeans are always going to be on trend, and you can wear it all year long in most parts of the world. Even though we've been working a lot around the denim design, we're still sticking to 5 pockets. Because it is great. It is a fantastic design. So I think the denim industry can lead that change and that rewrite of the fashion industry.
Yes, for sure. I think there's a lot that we can do to kind of lead the pack. And Allison, what are your thoughts?
I think all the ladies brought up great points about reducing seasons, reducing size of collections. And 6 years ago, we got sold off from Kate Spade to a private equity firm. And our CFO in a recent call described it as we used to have this pantry filled with things that we could choose from. And now in COVID, we are severely limited and we only have access to certain choices in that pantry. And maybe even previously, we took things out of the pantry that we couldn't afford. And so we are forced to be creative. We're forced to work on reduced resources, but most importantly, this is like the time when all those things we said we were going to change, like reduce sampling and moving over to CAD, like we need to do that now. Like, and if we come out and we're the same, then we've learned nothing. So this is the opportunity to make bigger changes permanently that we didn't have the discipline to do prior.
Yes, no, it's forcing very quickly to make a lot of changes. And Angela, what's your perspective?
A lot of what is said. I think a lot could change with just focusing on 2 really strong creative seasons each year. I think designers are stretched, their creativity is stretched. And so, you know, Gucci recently announced that they're going from 5 to 2 shows. And I don't even think I realized that those were 5 different collections because they all look very similar to one another. So I think if we could really, you know, embrace the 2 separate seasons, but more importantly, time when they land into stores with the weather and the proper season. I'm so tired of, you know, going into a store in July and seeing fall product. I think that would take care of a lot of the discounting, the waste, the need to keep buying more. And I also think that all these collections and seasons, it's an antiquated idea. You know, there are fewer buyers to show these collections to. There are fewer editors, departments are consolidated. So I think if we could just take those 2 moments of the year to really be proud of what we're working on and show everyone, I think that would be just as effective.
Yeah, if we could really just focus on having 2 strong seasons, and really bringing back, you know, the value into what a consumer needs to buy. I think that's a big part of where we need to rewrite in the future. If we've been watching what the consumer is currently buying and what their behavior is, the reports are showing that activewear sales have continued to increase as well as loungewear. What do you think this means for the denim industry? Will we be back into a phase of, you know, up against yoga pants instead of denim? And how do we want to handle that? Naomi, what are your thoughts on this?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be a part of this. And to answer your question, Tricia, we certainly cannot avoid the at-home workout videos on our feed. So we can't argue that that lounge and activewear is on the rise. But when I think of post-COVID fashion, I really don't think that behaviors are going to stay the same. And in fact, 3 things come to mind when I try to think of what our fashion world is going to look like after this. The first one, a more short-term thought or behavior, is a culture that capitalizes on the occasion of being out. And the other 2 are more long-term impacts, and the first being the era of purpose, and the second being the era of longevity. And I'll explain. So on the short-term front, you know, in reading a lot of reports on trends and trying to decipher what this is all going to look like, I've seen some work done trying to analyze the history of fashion and other crises to really understand how we're going to emerge out of this. And an interesting parallel that I've seen come up in several places was done by different fashion historians who drew out of Dior's new look post-World War II. And look, no one is comparing World War II to COVID by any means, but it's more so conceptually that we're living in an era of this deprivation of social outings, deprivation of having fun with our clothes. And the idea is that when this is over, or when we start to explore more socially, we're going to take advantage of those opportunities. So that certainly does not scream legging to me. That is the occasion for dressing up. The other 2 pieces, the long-term ones, stem from a more practical reason, and that is the economic landscape and the spending power of folks. And you know, the discretionary nature of fashion makes it extremely vulnerable to this. So purchasing is going to be a lot more careful. And I believe that there are going to be two guiding principles, one more abstract and the other a little more tangible. The abstract one being purpose. You know, people are looking for reconnection with their friends, family, their surroundings, and they really want to feel good about what they're doing, about what they're buying. So I think that companies that really speak to that component are going to have an advantage in a post-COVID world. And that is certainly not exclusive to activewear and loungewear. And the second piece, longevity, is also tied to scarcity, but not so much with the concept, but more so, if I'm going to spend money, I want what I'm spending my money on to last. And in really reworking or reframing our state of mind around fashion from being disposable to a commodity that is an investment. And this is where denim actually has a huge advantage, because out of other sectors that may have been, you know, kind of considered more of a disposable commodity over the last decade, I believe that people still see a good pair of jeans as a good investment. And I think that the nature of the durability of the product in itself lends to that way of thinking. So I don't think that it's going to be a very black and white world of legging versus denim. And I definitely think that, you know, as companies that are connecting with our consumers and are speaking to the mission of purpose and also selling a durable product, denim is going to be very much embedded in the post-COVID fashion world.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear your prediction there and looking back at the past to figure out for the future. And Christina, what are your thoughts on the legging versus denim?
Well, I think denim has always been there for us, for whatever, you know, to service a need. You know, we wore it, it was workwear. It was, you know, in the 40s, in the 50s, and then it became a statement, a political statement in the 60s, and in the 70s. It became more fashion, and then more so in the 80s, 90s. So it's been there to help us express, you know, how we're feeling in the culture. And it's definitely evolved, you know. I love what Naomi said and how she brought the timelines together. And luxury is important, but it was never, you know, if you think about it, it was never really, it didn't really start as a luxury item. So I think that's a beautiful thing, a connection that it services whatever need, it's there for us. You know, so going forward, thinking about, you know, the activewear, will it service that need? Yes. I mean, we'll have the high power stretch and she's comfortable. So how is she going to be comfortable? That's going to allow her to move. And even post-COVID, you know, thinking about consumers going into the store, what does it need to be? And from a fabric to make the customer feel comfortable. And, you know, as a fabric mill, we're talking about putting antibacterial fibers and finishes on the fabric to service that need for the customer. So, so yes, I think it will be all of that. Do the denim purists want it to be? No,
Yeah.
No. But we know we'll always have that. It'll always be, you know, the heritage, and we'll always go back to that, no matter where we go, take a departure from, as a source of inspiration. So that's our, you know, that's our cornerstone.
Definitely. It is our democracy in denim. And Sylvia, we haven't heard from you yet. What's your take on this?
I'm going to go very simple on this, because I think people will wear what they like to wear. So if you like to wear denim, you're going to buy denim. You're not going to buy leggings. I like to wear denim when I go to work. I like to wear denim when I go out for dinner. I like to wear denim when I go to a party. I'm not gonna go with leggings from now on. I'm gonna still wear my denim. So I'm still gonna buy my denim. I will wear my leggings when I walk the dogs, and but people will still continue to buy what they like. So if you are a person that like to wear denim, you are continue to buy denim. You're probably gonna change the way. If you haven't done before, you're gonna change the way how you buy. So maybe you buy less, maybe you buy more quality, maybe you buy more quality, so pieces that are gonna last for long. You're gonna be more conscious how you spend your money. This for sure, I'm quite sure about this. The shopping experience is gonna change. Maybe we buy less because we have less money, but with those little money I have, I'm gonna continue to buy denim because that's what I like.
Great. Well, we're glad, and I know that this is also something that other people feel too. Is it's what you were comfortable with before. And prior to COVID, we talked a lot about rental, resale, renewal, recreating. These were all different models that we were addressing as a part of circularity. Which do you think have the most relevance in this post-pandemic denim world? And how can we continue to inspire creativity? Anne, what is your take on this?
Well, I think they're all very relevant. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all model regarding circularity. And but what they all have in common is that they consider the whole lifespan of the garment. So when you design a pair of jeans for rental, for resale, for renewal, or for recycle, you have a completely different approach. You design for durability and sustainability. So I think they could all be considered depending on your business model, but you could also target to take them all in account. Also, back to jeans, I think they're meant to, they're actually aging well. That's what's amazing about them. They look fantastic when they're repaired, and they're already bestsellers on the vintage market. So they're really, really adapted to all of these models. Personally, I found rental quite interesting because I like the idea of providing a service and instead of a product. Because when you provide a service, it's in both parties' interests to make a great quality product. Better quality means the brand can run them for longer, and the clients get for their money's worth. So I think that's a win-win strategy. And yeah, it also implies that brands are responsible for the product for during their whole life. They don't just design them and sell them, but they can be held responsible and accountable for what happens to these garments during their whole life.
Yes, no, the rental model is very interesting. And Naomi, what do you think is important for the future around these different business models?
So I think it's interesting because all of us would probably agree that the retail landscape has been changing, and this change has been a long time coming. So, you know, COVID's really been a catalyst in this movement, and we've seen market confidence in the alternative business model, you know, for quite some time now, with successful fundraising round, with huge valuations. Personally, I've been looking closely at the secondhand resale market. There's evidence that indicates that it's actually been doing really well during COVID. And it makes sense because there's an immediate cash value for the customer. So I think that is an interesting engagement. However, that's not to say that secondhand is going to be the only dominant alternative business model. But I think that dominance in success in the space is actually going to be very platform specific, not just business model specific. You know, convenience is the commodity that matters most to our generation. So I really think that a platform that can provide customizable, seamless, simple process for the customer, using data that the customer, you know, gives that platform, is going to be the most relevant after all this. And you know, we're seeing retailers adopt some of these practices into their current model. But when you think about inspiring creativity, if you can't really pivot and shift your entire you know, distribution channel or your model altogether, I think that the new way of thinking or the new way to inspire creativity stems from breaking rigidity. So everything that we know of this process, you know, we've been doing the same thing for a very long time, and this has been a well-oiled machine with a lot of cracks. So this provides us with an opportunity to rethink about things. And I know we've already talked about the calendar, so that's certainly one. Another one is really considering, if my customer is now reevaluating the way that he or she is looking at businesses, this is a great time for businesses to do some reevaluating. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity to start aligning profit with purpose. And, you know, I kind of talked about it earlier from a customer perspective, and it has been brought up. I think Allison, who brought up the sampling process. I think that really infusing creativity into all operations is going to be very, very important and crucial in recovery. Additionally, I think that this is also a great time to really experiment with material, you know, re-educating the customer on why fashion is not disposable. And this is, again, where denim has a huge advantage. And lastly, to inspire creativity, I think that this is a great time to connect. And this is applicable to small and large businesses alike. You know, we have a much wider demographic be comfortable with virtual communication now, simply, you know, out of necessity. So this is a really good time to form a connection with them and provide a platform to for them to express their thoughts on product, what they liked, what they didn't like, how they styled it, and use this data and infuse it into the creative process. So outside of the alternative business model, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the more traditional businesses to draw inspiration from the crisis.
For sure. This pandemic pause has given us a lot of opportunity to reevaluate. And you're right, the use of digital tools has just increased. And Christine, what is some of your thoughts on this?
Well, I just want to weigh in on one thing on the rental industry. I actually am opposed to it. I think the carbon footprint to the cleaning and dry cleaning of returning materials is actually counterproductive and actually doesn't help the environment. I think the secondhand resale is important. What I've tried to do, and with all my clients, is to create circularity, transparency, and really apply it in everything. So for example, my UK client was opening a store here. The store couldn't open, right? It's retail. So what we did was, we have the inventory here. We had dead stock. One of the things that companies don't realize is that you've got a ton of dead stock now. This is the time to go into your warehouse, take your design team and say, hey guys, what could we do? It's exactly the model of, we all look on, let's face it, we look on Etsy, we look on Instagram, we look on social media of who's upcycling, who's doing something different. You just have to do that internally within a company, and you can take product, like we have to go back to core. Look at what's the most iconic thing that everybody loves. We think of the 5-pocket jean, right? And it's been the same thing for 100 years. But each time is an evolution. This is a time, let's say you have an inventory, an order you placed in XYZ factory. Now you could take that inventory and utilizing creativity within your team, technology and everything to upcycle and to honor those orders. You know, I like to think of the socio-economic part of sustainability we tend to not talk about, and how all of this is a domino effect. My big takeaway has been more with less. Okay, there used to be a model in business. 38 years in the business, I have seen everything. I've seen this fall and pivot and come up, and using a base foundation of core and building on it. You could take the orders that you placed with a denim mill and then make small capsule groups that are fashion. That excites the customer. Some of the stuff you put in the retail store, don't offer it online to get them to go into the stores. We cannibalized our own business, and now we need to kind of sort of rebuild and remake a foundation. And the foundation is denim, right? And you can do so much with it. You can take dead stock. Like my client has a core product they've been making for 100 years. What I've done is upcycled it, and we can recycle it back to its original state through finishing and technology, which is amazing. So the customer invests in the upcycled product, And if they want it back to the old way, and then we can keep making that through quality and design with purpose, we can actually rewrite this narrative. That's what we, you know, so that's where my head's been about, you know, we say renew, reuse, recycle. Well, yes, that should be the ethos of every designer. And at the end of this, the last thing is rethinking packaging. And it's my last little thing about plastics and really getting an industry-wide to go to bioplastics from every level of the supply chain. We have to, it's in Ellen MacArthur's pillars about rethinking packaging. And this is a really good time because nothing's been shipped. So let's stop with the plastic, because our single-use thing denotes and takes away. Every one of us has an ecological backpack. The lighter your pack, the more sustainable you are. Time to lighten the load, do more with less, think globally, make locally, and really be true to your product and your vendors and this whole supply chain. This is what we talk about. Now we got to do it. No much.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's the bottom line. Sustainability is the
Yeah.
bottom line, as I say.
It is. And you're right to even consider packaging. Carme, can you provide some comments?
Oh, yeah, sure. Totally agree with with Naomi and talking about your opportunity in this moment, and also with Christine. We are totally aligned. But well, of course, this rental and resale business model were already working before the pandemic. I mean, a lot of brands were already working this way. For example, Gani launched, I think, last year the rental service. They already are selling stocks from past season, no? But I think that this new context will popularize this service that coexist with the traditional fashion selling channels, and probably will enrich and contaminate each other, no? I think that different businesses models and different methodologies, different ways of doing things, of working, as Christine explained, will coexist, and for sure will be the starting point of something new. It's a context that obviously generates a lot of opportunity, no? In Genealogia, we are working since 2018 in a concept that we have called it retech, and now takes even more sense than ever in this new context, because it's our, let's say, our solution for the overstock problem, and it's close to what Christine explained before, but we are calling this process retech, and for us it's the creative transformation of unwanted garments in renewed products for better quality and sustainable value by applying Genealogia technologies. So we are changing totally the look of the garments without cutting or stitching the garment, just by applying laser technology and the quick softening with the e-flow. So we always said that we are upcycling through technology. And I would say that for the first time, upcycling become digital, because we are linking with the retech concept, creativity and production through the software designer, so we can preview the samples before even doing it and create laser designs. And I think that in how we can inspire creativity, I mean, upcycling always has this positive impact, not just for the zero waste implications, but also for its creativity. And I think that it's a good way to show that sustainability is creatively rewarding and inspiring. And I'm really glad also to hear that designers and Christine team is already working on that.
Great, yes. We've had to make some very abrupt adjustments in the past 2 months, schedules. And I know when I thought in January I had my whole year planned out, well, that quickly went out the window. Will you return to the same travel and show schedule and meetings? And do you feel comfortable with new ways of working and connecting? And how will these stick? We'll start with you, Sinem.
Yeah, I used to travel almost every week in my previous life. But this pause actually made me question the necessity of all those trips. And I tried to redefine what was really essential and what's not. And another thing I realized that we all happen to be more than ready with this new mediums of digital meetings or platforms just like this. And even we start to find it strange what we called normal back then before the corona. So I think there is a big room to make this shift in the whole mindset. But I also think that because we talked a lot about this rewriting the whole system, and when it comes to denim community, the fairs, shows, and the travel is a big part of it, which we all love to be connected. But why not having such platforms instead of this traditional fairs? And some of them really need to be, let's say, skipped or filtered or simplified. So there's a good timing for such filtrations, maybe. And for my own case, I also think that because some part of my work is based on the lectures and some seminars, which I used to travel globally, but I can comfortably, very, very comfortably replace them by digital alternatives. But on the other hand, when it comes to this visual virtual presentations, I feel a bit traditional on that part, and I feel a bit old school myself, because it's when I think of its effectiveness, denim's nature is all about touch and feel. So I have a lot of question marks with that for the coming future. But I think that adaptability for new possibilities, new technologies will be very, very important. So that's what I'm practicing myself for.
Yes, yes. And Cindy, what do you feel will change?
I could not echo what she said anymore. I mean, admittedly, it's definitely been a challenge. I mean, we're a very tactile industry, and touching and feeling something from afar, it poses a lot of challenges, but we've had to get super creative. We've created tools, we've got digital libraries, 3D renderings, but at the end of the day, there isn't a replacement for that face-to-face interaction. You can do as much as you can on chats like this and webinars and all of that, but you can't get that body language in its totality to really understand a person's gut reaction to something, and if they need to tweak it or change it. And I think it's going to be a balance. It's going to be a fusion between using these great new tools for efficiency and effectiveness. And I'm going to see the glass half full in all of this, and that is that, you know, there have been some awesome tools that probably should have been created a long time ago, and I'm really finding them personally quite useful, and you guys probably are too. But I think, you know, you really mentioned it, Denim, in terms of we are a passionate industry, and the denim community loves to get together, and it's not just for the sake of it. It's just the creativity that kind of happens spontaneously when we all get in a room or in a place together. So we're just going to have to be smart about it, do it really responsibly from, is it time to do it from a health and welfare perspective, and is it smart to do it both from a sustainability and a footprint perspective? But I think they'll be both, and I think we'll know when the time is right. But I don't think you can replace one or the other, but you can certainly learn from a lot of the great tools that we and our companies have put together to help us, and rock on.
Yeah, exactly. These digital tools that will stay. And Sylvia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with Sinem and Cynthia. They explain very well yeah, what's going on and what we are learning in this time. And I also agree that I don't know if we need so many shows and exhibitions and traveling so much. I think we are all re-questioning everything. On the other hand, I also agree that we need to touch fabrics. We need to see the materials. So not everything can go digital, but maybe a big part of the work can be done digital, and then it's all about balance. So for sure we need to meet. We still need to meet in person. We still need to see people in person and to see the fabrics and to see the materials. So I'm pretty sure something is gonna change in terms of numbers of exhibitions, shows that we used to have so many and so similar all around the world and so close to each other. So I'm not sure this is gonna stay as it is, because we have seen that digital is working. We are trying right now, and we are able to do it. We are discovering something that we were not so familiar before, and it's working. I also believe that brands and companies, they're gonna review their budget about traveling, because they're also seeing in this time that even working from home, it works. So why do you travel so much? Of course, we are still gonna travel, but maybe less. And this is also a way to be more sustainable as well.
Yeah, yes, no, for sure. Less travel. And I think the comment on the trade shows, we're going to be addressing that in a future conversation. If we have less seasons, less to design for, do we need so many trade shows? But just closing out this question then, Angela, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I admit I'm probably the worst work from home employee in the world. And for no good reason. I have no kids. I turn off the TV, you know, but I look forward to getting back into the office. I look forward to going back to trade shows. Next week, Rivet is launching a lookbook for a season of fabrics. And there's words that mills consistently use, like tencel soft, authentic character, and reading it versus just actually touching it. Like it's such a two different worlds. And, you know, I was thinking about, Tricia, your collaboration with the hardware line. I don't think anybody would realize how soft those fabrics are looking at those garments, because they look so authentically heritage and workwear. But I think over time, I think we'll all find ourselves going back to shows. I think maybe it'll be a little different. The programming, you know, won't take place there. Maybe we'll have more digital events, because you can't fill a room with 100 people, you know, sitting and listening to someone speak. But I think eventually people are kind of going to be itching to go back and seeing their friends.
I think so too. Yeah. And that's where I like having everyone here on the screen. At least I can see all your faces together. So we have some fabulous questions here from our attendees. And there's one topic that we didn't address on this panel discussion, but we've addressed on some of the others that I think I'd like to bring in. And that's around some of the social issues. So what changes do we foresee in the industry's workers and work conditions? And I was wondering, Naomi, maybe you could take a stab at this one. Any comments on the social side of our industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this answer is twofold. I think that collectively, socially, we're starting to realize who the real heroes are, right? And I think that this crisis has really shined the light on that, and seeing the workers, the garment workers, come to work every day and help us get through this is something that I don't think the public was really made aware of before until this. So I think that if there was ever demand for transparency, now it's much greater. So whether or not businesses want conditions to change, I think that this demand, this loud voice that the public has for transparency and now traceability as well, is going to force businesses into changing how the conditions and the employee treatment. So I'm hopeful, but I think that it's really going to come from the market.
Yes, yeah, I think so too. We'll definitely see a lot of changes. There's another great question here from Michelle, that even with the seriously reduced quantities post-COVID, how do we address in a practical way the volume inequalities of producing locally? And I just want to add to this, I mean, we have so much capacity anyway in the denim industry. What's going to happen? And maybe, Christina, if you could weigh in on this from a mill perspective and in your experience, how do we handle these reduced minimums and all the capacity that exists in the world?
I think this is where we, where we need to listen, asking questions and as a mill needing to listen to what our customers need. And that is what they need right now in order to pivot. It's a partnership. So we need to create this partnership that, satisfies everybody's need to survive, this next phase, and then create that new framework. But there's this coalition that needs to happen. And, I'm bringing it back to LA or anywhere else in the world. We made changes in order to pivot with fast speed to market, where our mill is in Karachi in Pakistan, but we noticed that a lot of our customers were moving to Turkey and India and Bangladesh. So we set up a warehouse in Turkey to house fabric for speed to market. But there also is the reality that came up in some of my interviews and my conversations with people that produce in LA. Well, what if people want to come back to local markets? That's great. But unfortunately, the factories and the laundries had to close because, the brands moved out. So, they'll have to face those consequences as well. And make the necessary investments and partnerships, that coalition to make it happen. It can happen, but we need to do it together and under our new aligned values and make it really human,
For sure. The investment and the commitment that's needed, because as you said, there's been stops and starts, and that's not the way anyone can build a business. There's another great question here from Amanda on the best digital platforms designers should be using and learning for future-proofing business and use 3D capacities for fittings. And I see that, Christine, you went and mentioned that you felt that the Optitex 3D was very good. I don't know, Anne, if you have anything to add from your design experience on good digital platforms?
Well, not really. I haven't been using all these new 3D prototypes technologies. I've been reading articles about it, but so far I haven't been able to test it, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Great. And Carme, maybe you have something to add from Genealogia's portfolio of technology and innovation.
Yeah, we have been working closely with Bronzeware, and it's also a 3D designer platform. And we have integrated a plugin to create laser designs there and export it to be able to be marking our laser machines. And also we have created a laser design software that is called the Designer. It's not a 3D laser design, but it's for laser designing, but allows us to preview how the garment will look after we mark the laser. So also it's a good option.
Great. No, it's wonderful to hear everything you're working on, and also your sanitization process too that you have. Before we close, I'd like to have one last word from everyone. And if you can say just in one word, currently how you feel about the denim industry, and we'll do this alphabetically, starting with Allison.
Oh my goodness, me first?
Yeah, well, one word.
I'm gonna be not creative. I'm just gonna stick with local.
Local. Okay, great. And Angela?
Say empathy to how everyone comes out of this circumstance.
Great. Anne?
I'm going to say bipolar, because I go from desperate to highly enthusiastic.
Good. Carme?
Challenging.
Challenging, for sure. Christina?
Transmutation, and that's changing from one form into another form, and I think we're doing it in a good way, and it's timely. Yay.
Exactly. Christine, I know it's hard for you in just one word. Can you do it?
I have one word: revival. My word is revival, but I must read the definition: a restoration to bodily and mental vigor, to life and consciousness, an improvement in the condition and strength of something. Revival.
Okay, revival. And Cindy?
No surprise here. Durable. Comes from my very, very near and dear core to our heart here. So we've mentioned it before, but durable not only as a awesome denim fabric, but as an industry and as a spirit. And we're going to get through this together. We're going to endure.
Sounds good. Naomi?
Reconstruct.
Great. Sylvia?
Change. We have to do it now or never. We have to change the way how we are working.
Yes. Sinem?
Resilience. Resilience for change.
For sure. Great. It was wonderful to see everyone today and to have this conversation. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, your time, and your expertise. We have one more panel, at least one more, coming up, and that's next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So same time, same place. And if anyone else would like to join, we could add another week on. We'll still be in these discussions for sure as things are changing. You can just send me a note or DM me on social media. And we realize that now is that time to change for the future. So if you want to find out more, you can follow us on Carved in Blue or check us out on social media. And I really want to say thank you to Mohsen and Sadia for all of their support and help during this time in organizing and graphics and expertise. And I'm going to sign off with my mini denim jean here from Cone Denim because this is sitting here with me every day and it gives me inspiration. And I look forward to seeing everyone together. Thanks so much, and we'll catch up later. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.